Anyway, I remember something. What the Buddha has said, that there are 5 things in this world which we cannot understand earlier. 5 kinds of occurrences. So whatever imaginations that we create in our mind, that things may take place against our wishes or our wills or ambitions. These 5 things, jīvitaṃ, vyādhi, kāloca, dehanikhepaṇaṃ, gati. Pañcete jīva lokasmiṃ animittā na ñāyare. Na ñāyare, difficult to understand earlier. These 5 things. So what are these 5 things? Jīvitaṃ. Jīvita means life. But still we do not know actually what this life is. Because of that, we do not know how to make use of this life. We think life is just for us to survive or to live or to enjoy. Only that much. So our measurement about this life is very poor. That means we do not know how to appreciate this life. We always talk of ill of our life. Sufferings and troubles and problems and difficulties and all sorts of things. But we also must appreciate that the life is the most valuable thing in this world. But if we know how to handle it, how to make use of it, then we can reach the aim or the final target. Not knowing how to divert or how to direct our life processes, we abuse and misuse, then get into trouble. In another discourse, the Buddha has said, if we can understand how we existed, appeared and disappeared in this universe, not only in this world, in this universe, it is very difficult for us to find out a place here on this earth where our dead bodies were not buried during our previous existence. So life after life. If anyone can understand where we were buried, you won't be able to find out an inch here on this earth where our dead bodies were not buried. Again he says, if we can understand amount of tears that we have shed life after life. Because of our beloved one, our husbands and wives and parents and children and relatives and friends and others. After their departure, after their death, or due to various other problems and troubles, amount of tears that we have shed. He says, greater than the drops of waters in the great ocean. Now this is a parable for us to understand the nature of our existence. So what we are doing actually, the most of our time we spend struggling for our survival and creating more misunderstanding and enmity and jealousy and anger, and taking special precautions not to die, and crying and laughing. When we laugh also sometimes we shed tears. When we cry also we shed tears. So going on shedding tears, life after life. Not only human beings, even animals also do the same thing. This is the nature of our existence. Now if we can record from our childhood up to the last moment, death, during this period, how we have spent our life. How many hours a day we spend by maintaining peace, happiness, satisfaction in our life. How many hours a day? How many hours a day we spend with anger, jealousy, grudge and enmity and unhappiness, disappointment and fightings and quarreling and crying and worrying. Record. Then you can see the difference. The nature of our life. Now here, these 5 things. First item is life. We do not know what this life is. And we do not know why we are here. Why we came to this world. For what purpose? Of course, some people believe that somebody sent us to this world. But we cannot satisfy with this interpretation. For what purpose? To create more trouble. Now see what is happening all over the world. And who sent all those human beings to this earth? All over the world. You can see manslaughter. The way how they kill, cruelty, hatred, and inhuman attitude. Then, so what is the purpose of coming to this world to behave in this way? All the others, innocent people, are in fear. They are shivering. They do not know what to do. People are running away from this country to that country to another country, and again return, because they cannot satisfy. Then what is the purpose of our coming to this world? We have not come to this world to fulfill somebody else's wish or will. We, individually, we are responsible for our coming here. Simple sayings of the Buddha in Dhammapada, just now you heard our Honorary Secretary mentioned about this well-known book, Dhammapada. It is a Buddhist Bible, actually speaking. Such an important Buddhist book. The first saying in that book, he says, we are the result of what we were. So simple thing, still many people cannot remember this. We are the result of what we were. And this is the answer for that question, why we are here. Again, we will be the result of what we are. You might have heard this more than 110,000 times. Even then, these things very seldom penetrate into your mind. To ponder, to analyze, or to understand. That is why always, when we are in trouble, when we have problems and worries, you say, you don't know why we are here, why do we suffer? This is the answer. Why can't we consider, by referring to the Buddha, what he has said? Not only Buddha, there are many other religious teachers also who made beautiful statements regarding these problems. So what does it mean? We are the result of what we were. That means this is not the first life, first existence. And universes, not only one universe. Universes are infinite. Another saying of the Buddha, to understand the nature of our existence, in Anguttara Nikaya, Buddha says, Anamatagoyang bhikkhave sangsaro pubbha koti napanyayat. The answer that the Buddha has given for those who wanted to see the beginning of our life. Historians, archaeologists, scientists, psychologists, great thinkers, philosophers are digging and trying to find out the origin or the beginning of this life. They discover something and say, yeah, that is the beginning. But they cannot go beyond that. Let us take only one example. Well-known discovery by an anthropologist Charles Darwin, theory of evolution. Scientifically it is true, but the whole truth is not there. It is true. You know the difference. He says, the life that which exists on this earth He talks only about life that exists on this earth. Of course, at that time, not on this earth, in the water. He says, started in the water, first, one cell life, known as amoeba. That is the beginning of our life in this world. It is true. But is that the beginning? Because he cannot go beyond this. How many factors, elements, energies, forces are there behind this amoeba? He has no knowledge. He also realized, analyzed, studied only the evolutions of elements, processes, elemental side. But he was completely in the dark about the mental process. He had no idea about how the evolutions of mental process have taken place. So it is only, his discovery is only one-way traffic, not completed. Here, life is the evolution of elements and energies and mental energies. Now, three forces are there. These three forces combined together are going on evolving, changing according to the environment, situations and climates and so many factors, all these cosmic energies. They are known as cosmic energies. So they contribute for the formation of this life in different shape, different colors. So there is, here the Buddha's answer is, it is impossible for anyone to find out the beginning of any particular life in this universe. Whatever they discover, only certain degrees. They cannot go beyond that. Because they have no idea about all the other factors and elements and energies. Again he said, don't waste your time. Your duty is to understand why you are here. Not necessary for you to dig your old graveyard, but to analyze what this body, what this life, that is enough for you. Don't go beyond that. So life is like this. Whatever imagination that we create about our life is not perfect unless we gain complete enlightenment, purification, wisdom and understanding. The next one is Vyadi, sickness, uncertainty in our life. But today, no one can say, after few years' time, we get this kind of sickness. That means we cannot choose sicknesses. Unexpected or unknown sicknesses appear. So earlier we cannot decide. So what sort of sicknesses come to us? It depends on our physical conditions and anatomy, metabolism, elements in the body and the mind, environment, way of life, food. How many things are there? Sicknesses appear because of these things. So we cannot decide, understand what type of sicknesses come to us. Now this is the second thing, what the Buddha says, that no one can understand earlier. Then the third one is kala, time. Now can we say that we will die and such time, either in the morning or night time, or at what time? Can we say? Is there anyone who can, astrologers may say something. You know, sometimes astrologers also, they do not know about their death also. The fortune teller who was caught by the police when he was sleeping in the Supreme Court veranda at night time, because it is strictly prohibited for anyone to go and sleep there. And he was caught by the police, and next day he was taken to the court. Then the judge asked, "What is your job?" "My job is telling fortune for my living." Then the judge asked, "Did you read your hand yesterday that you will get into trouble today?" No, I did not read that. I could not understand that. So he was fined for violating that law. And this is the nature of the statement that fortune tellers tell us. Don't depend on fortune tellers too much. So, we cannot decide whether we die when we are young, or at the middle age, or after 80 years or 100 years. No one can say. It depends on the condition, our way of life. And our karmic energy is responsible for that. You must understand this. Do you know, during our lifetime, amongst all our good deeds that we introduce as good karmas or meritorious deeds are divided into 11 groups according to the nature of our good deeds and the mental attitude at that time when we perform this merit. Remember this. We have different mentalities. Perform the same meritorious deeds together, but they have different mentalities, mental attitude. So the merits that they gain by performing the same meritorious deeds differ according to their way of thinking. That is why all these karmas are divided into 11 groups. One particular karma is called Janaka karma, generative, productive karma, which is responsible for the formation, conditioning, or producing this life again after our death. Only that particular karma. So the maximum lifespan we can spend according to the degree or the gravity of that particular karma. That is why some people die when they are very young. Nobody knows why. And some people spend up to 100 years. It depends on that particular karmic energy which molded, conditioned this life. That is why we cannot decide earlier the date or the time that we die. Since life is uncertain, our duty is ajjeva kiccang atappang kojanya maranang sui. This is that way. Whatever good deeds that we can do to make use of this life, we must do today itself. Kojanya maranang sui. Who knows that we may die tomorrow? There is no guarantee. Therefore, don't postpone when the opportunities are there to do some good deeds. Because life is uncertain. So the time is unknown. No one can decide earlier. Then the next one, Jivitang vyadhi kalocha deha nikhepana. Burial or cremation after our death. Also uncertain. Those who are born in this country may die somewhere else, in another country. Those who are born on the earth may die in the water or in the air, if not in the jungle. Uncertain. And we plan, we book our graveyard, prepare everything earlier, but sometimes we miss the target and won't be able to find out where the dead body is. If not, there is nothing to find out, no dead body at all, turn into ashes. But here we have book. These things usually we do for our own satisfaction, for us to satisfy while we are living. We book very nice, very expensive coffin. We like it. But that dead body cannot appreciate it. Dead body never complain, no, this coffin is not good for me, I like to have a very good one. Our own satisfaction. Again, people like to book their grave on the top of a hill. Or they like. After that they say, you know, my father's body was buried on the top of the hill, first class, you know, because close to heaven, you know, top. And this kind of childish ideas, we maintain this traditional belief. It's very difficult to get rid of these ideas. So the Buddha says it is difficult. Although we reserve certain areas, certain graveyard, and also a person who lived as a Buddhist or a Hindu without others' knowledge except either Christianity or Islam. There were many cases. After their death, their family members have buried the dead bodies in their graveyard. Later, The Christians and Muslims say, no, according to his IC card, he is not a Buddhist, he has changed. Therefore, they go out and exhume this dead body, taken away and bury in their graveyard. They say, if this person was not buried in their graveyard, he cannot go to heaven. From your graveyard, he cannot go to heaven. This is the situation. And there was a world-famous philosopher in the West. I forgot his name. He had Voltaire. His name is Voltaire. Very liberal. He was a born Christian. Very, very liberal ideas. But many Orthodox Christians could not agree with him. So when he died, the Catholic Church did not allow to bury his dead body in their graveyard. The Catholic Church did not allow to bury his dead body in their graveyard. They said, he has made so many statements against, which goes against Christianity. Therefore we cannot allow for this man to be buried in our graveyard. So his relatives had to bury this dead body somewhere else. After 10 years' time, if I am not mistaken, there were few millions who realized to appreciate this man's wisdom. So, thousands of them assembled around the church, threatened, we must dig out this and bury in the Christian graveyard. If not, we are going to smash your church. The church had to surrender. No other choice. He was reburied in the Christian graveyard. So in the same manner, uncertainty is there even after our death. Few years ago, there was a case in Tambi Abdullah Road, not very far. A Chinese gentleman died. Known, or he lived as a Buddhist. But he used to go to church every Sunday. So his Christian friend accepted him as a Christian. Later, without others' knowledge, he has become a Muslim. Nobody knew. After his death, his relatives wanted to arrange a Buddhist funeral. So when they went to the police station with the IC card, they found out a Muslim name. Then they say, you must give a Muslim burial, cannot perform Buddhist. Then all his Christian friends, having heard that so and so died, they also assemble there. They say, we want to perform a Christian religious service there. He is a Christian, they say. Then the family members are very staunch Buddhists. They say, we want to perform Buddhist rite. Now 3 groups. They could not decide. Came to see me. We are having this problem. Now Christians say they want to give Christian burial. And the family members say they want to give Buddhist burial. And according to his IC card, the Muslims say must be buried in Muslim graveyard. So what to do now? Then I told them, let them do anything. We Buddhists never fight for dead bodies. This is our attitude. To us, makes no difference. Whether he is buried either in Christian cemetery or Muslim cemetery, it is a dead body. This is the nature of life. And why should we fight because of a dead body? Is it not our human folly, human stupidity? Then the last one, Gati. Gati, this is more important. Now, all these devotees and members perform lot of meritorious deed almost every day. Some of these members come and support in our activities. Some are very devout. Every new moon, full moon, and every Sunday, every Friday, you spend more time, you concentrate more on religious activity. Even at home also, you think. Even then, the nature of our mind is such, it is very, very difficult for us to decide after our death where our rebirth takes place. And this is the nature of our mind. Whether become human beings or animals or devas or spirits or any other form of living being. Today we cannot decide. What is the reason? You have to learn this one. Mind is going on changing. Every second, mind is changing. However good or bad we are. Until we attain that higher stage of sainthood or perfection, changes take place in our mind. Temptation change the mind. We are devout Buddhists or Christians or Hindus or Muslims, very devout. But when temptation arouses, we can very easily bluff others. No difficulty for us to bluff others. Those who take 8 precepts every full moon, new moon day, even those monks who lead a holy life, very easily can bluff others. That temptation. And this is the uncertainty of the mind. Changes can take place because craving, anger, ignorance and so many other defilements, although we could manage to suppress, keep under control, still remain at the bottom, like sediments of a glass of water. When you take this glass and shake, I can see sediments come up to the space. The mind is exactly like this. Now, you can see, when I look at your faces, so serene, very cheerful, very nice, look like religious-minded people, very harmless and very honest. Now you are very honest. But how long can you maintain this honesty? When your chances arise, you never forget to bluff others. And this is the uncertainty. This story I have told you. Still there are 100% honest human beings on this earth. I think you can remember this story. A father and a son son is below 12 years, they got a railway ticket to travel about 3 or 4 days by the train. Under 12, anyone can buy half-rate ticket. So the father bought half-rate ticket for his son. But after 2 days, completed. Now over 12 years, in the train, his father was thinking, it is not justifiable for me to use this half-rate ticket for my son. I must buy full-rate ticket for him. He got down from one railway station and went to the station master and told him, when I bought this ticket, my son was 11 years and 29 days, but now over 12 years. So I want to change this into full-rate ticket. Then the station master asked, are you mad? Who is going to read your son's horoscope in the train? Why can't you travel by using this half-rate ticket? Then this man said, that is not the reason. I know nobody come and catch, say, but my mind is not clear. I know it is a mistake. What I want is to clarify my mind. I know it is wrong. This is called honesty. So we maintain honesty just to escape from our troubles and problems. But real honesty is not there. So how many such honest people are there in this world? And we can regard such people as bodhisattvas. And they are the ones who are going on practicing, developing all the great qualities in that way, life after life. So, the uncertainty of our life depends on environment. If the atmosphere or the environment is favorable, then our mind also favorable. There's a well-known saying, when others are good, I am also good. Because you don't disturb me. I am good because of you. If you are bad, there is no guarantee that I am also good. I cannot maintain that goodness if you are bad. Because you irritate, you disturb, you provoke my mind. So environment change the mental attitude. So temptation and irritation. When the mind is provoked, disturbed, we forget our precept, we forget our religion, we forget our dignity. We behave in such a way by adopting very violent, very aggressive, very cruel method. Then completely polluted the purity of the mind. But we have a lot of merits here behind. Although we have done a lot of merits, at the last moment when we are going to die, if one of those evil thoughts that we have deposited in the subconscious mind projects, there is no chance for that person to have better rebirth. This is the uncertainty. Then what happened to all the good karmas? Remain, follow. After that rebirth, if that person has not done more bad deed during that lifetime, then all the other good karmas support him. A wicked man who has committed a lot of bad things, bad karmas, remember, No one can live in this world without doing good and bad both. Any cruel man in this world, if you study and associate, you can see he also does lot of good deeds. And so-called good or religious person also commit certain mistake and certain bad thing. And this is the nature of our life. That well-known Sanskrit saying, parable, dosopyasti gunopyasti nirdoso naiva jayate sukhumalasya padmasya nalo bhavati karkasa. Here in this world or in any part of the world, we cannot find out 100% perfect man or woman or 100% bad man or woman. In each and every person you can see goodness and badness, both. But when we maintain more good things, we say this man is good. When we do more bad things, we say he is bad. Now this is our definition. Here this saying says, dosopyasti gunopyasti, both exist. Nirdoso naiva jayate. It is impossible for us to find out the perfect good person or 100% bad person. It's like this. Sukhumalasya padmasya. Padma means lotus flower. Lotus flower is very tender, very beautiful, colorful, everybody likes. There's nobody who hates lotus flower. But nalo bhavati karkasa, the stick that holds this lotus flower is karkasa, got thorns, very rough, cannot touch. So life is exactly like this. So by knowing this uncertainty in our life, now we are talking, even a bad man who has done a lot of bad things, he may get one of his good deeds as the last thought before his or her death. Then he gets the chance to have better rebirth because of that particular good karma. Then all the other bad karmas never disappear. Follow like shadow, never disappear. Assume in that particular life he had the chance to be born as a human being. Then again he continued doing more and more good deeds. And before these bad karmas come and affect him, again he can get another better rebirth after his death. Then continue this, going on increasing all the good deeds using full effort. One day he may attain nirvana, final goal, bad karmas have to withdraw. This is the way how you forgive your own sins. Don't wait another person to come and forgive your sins. You can forgive your sin if you know this. So, unless we attain our final stage of arahanthood or Buddha, below that level, or Sakadagami also can, there are 4 stages. Below that level no one can say, today we cannot say, after our death, our existence or rebirth take place on that particular place. But we maintain our aspiration, saying that I want to go to heaven. Of course, everybody likes to go to heaven. But this is only a wish. That will or wish or hopes never work unless you prepare for this. You can pray, but it doesn't work unless you prepare. The Buddha says, when you want to cross a river, if there is no boat, or you are a very religious man, you kneel down here at this bank of the river and pray, asking the other banks to come nearer to you so that you can cross the river. He says it never works. Your prayers never answer for you to cross the river. But if the boat is not available, you can collect some pieces of wood and can make a raft. Then you can cross the river by using your effort. This is the advice. Don't depend on others to come and purify and to take to heaven or take to nirvana. You have to do your work. You know the well-known saying, belief in God is very good. Nobody in this world who can say it is bad. Very good. Believe, no harm at all. Pray and worship, very good. Very gentle attitude. I don't think there is anybody who say it is bad. You can pray for your protections and precautions. Pray to God. But don't forget to lock the door when you go out at night time. There is no guarantee that God will protect your house until you come back. This is the nature of Buddha's advice. You can worship, you can pray, you can believe, no harm at all. But don't forget to work for that. Otherwise you won't get it. I think enough, nearly 1 hour. Okay.
these two extremes, O monk, that should be avoided by the person who is seeking enlightenment. The first is the indulgence in sensual pleasure. This is inferior, indecent, insignificant, dishonorable, and profitless. The other extreme is indulgence in the practice of severe austerity. This is painful, inferior, and profitless. By abandoning these two extremes, the Tathagata, the Buddha, realized the middle path, which promotes vision and knowledge. Moreover, this leads to nirvana, peace of mind, deep insight, and complete awakening.
Kathamācasa vikkhave majjhima patipada ādhena abhisambuddhā sakkutari jnānakarani upasamāya abhinnāya sambodhāya nibbānāya
What is this middle path, O monk, realized by the Tathagata? It is exactly this noble eightfold path, namely, right views, right thoughts, right speech, right action, right occupation, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration.
Dankopana vikkhave dukkhaṃ arya satyam jātipi dukkha jāti dukkha jātipi dukkho maranampi dukkhaṃ appiyeti sampayoko dukkho Kampi dukkhaṃ saṅkhippena pañcupada
The noble truth of suffering is this. Birth itself is suffering. Old age is suffering. Sickness is suffering. Death is suffering. Having to be with unpleasant ones is suffering. Separation from the loved ones is suffering. In short, the five aggregates of existence connected with attachment are suffering.
ඉදං කෝපන වික්ඛවේ දුක්ඛ සමුදයං අරිය සත්‍යං යායං තණ්හා කෝනෝ භවිකා නන්දියාය
The noble truth of the cause of suffering is this. It is the craving, tanha,